Picture this: the rain-soaked streets of Hyderabad's old city, the looming shadows of the Charminar, and beneath it all, a deeply entrenched, terrifyingly powerful criminal underworld. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are unpacking a truly cinematic, sprawling Indian crime saga. We're going to dive deep into a gripping, high-stakes thriller all about blood, revenge, justice, and ultimately, redemption.
Two brothers, one bloodline. Two worlds, one final war. That is the core of our story today. Because, you really have to wonder, what actually happens when the unbreakable bond of family is violently shattered? Well, let's trace the origins of this absolute tragedy.
Starting with Part 1, the bloodline shattered.
At the very head of this family was DCP Suryanarayana Reddy. Now, he wasn't just your average police officer. The man was a walking symbol of absolute integrity. He lived a happy life with his wife, Lakshmi Devi, and their 5-year-old twin sons, Arjun and Abhay. And even though the boys were super young, you could already see their personalities going in completely different directions. Arjun was fiercely protective, always quick to fight injustice, while Abhay was calm, highly intellectual, and deeply empathetic. But their peaceful life was on borrowed time. DCP Reddy had just gotten his hands on undeniable, concrete evidence against the absolute biggest players in the South Indian Mafia. And sadly, that honesty signed his death warrant.
To put this into perspective, the sheer, monumental scale of the threat DCP Reddy was up against was staggering. We are not talking about some local street gang here. This was a massive criminal empire run by two terrifying figures. First, you have Raghav Nayak, the completely ruthless Don running the Hyderabad underworld. And then there's Vikram Janakiraman, the untouchable mafia boss down at the Chennai harbor. Together, their empire was everywhere. Extensive land grabs, massive illegal arms trafficking using cargo ships, and a deeply entrenched network of political corruption. DCP Reddy was set to present his evidence in court in just 2 days, so Raghav and Hebram decided he wouldn't live to see the sunrise.
It's a torrential downpour. Fast forward to 11 p.m. Black SUVs silently surround the Reddy home. Heavily armed men swarm the property. At 11:05, DCP Suryanarayana draws his service revolver. He makes this heroic, bloody last stand, fighting them off bullet by bullet, but there are just too many. He is gunned down by Raghav Nayak himself. At 11:10, Lakshmi Devi desperately tries to smuggle her boys out the back, but she's brutally murdered right in front of them, literally using her own body as a shield. And then, at 11:15 p.m., in the absolute chaos and blinding terror, the 5-year-old boys run in opposite directions. They're separated. Their world goes entirely black.
Which brings us to Part 2. Two destinies, two worlds. 25 long years pass. One tragedy, two completely different paths. On one side, we have Dr. Abhay. He was rescued that horrifying night by his father's friend, Dr. Murthy, and grew up to be a brilliant Oxford gold medalist criminal psychologist. He uses his sharp intellect to catch the darkest criminals. He doesn't need a gun, right? He uses his mind. But on the other side of the city, a terrifying phantom known only as the Warlord. Raised by an underworld middleman named Basha Qureshi, he learned early on that fear is greater than mercy. He used brute force to rise up and become the undisputed king of the Hyderabad underworld. Yet he holds this one unbreakable moral rule. He will never harm women, children, or innocents. Two entirely different worlds. And as for what actually happened to little Arjun, well, that remains a mystery for now.
Let's look at Part 3, the converging hunt. So, what finally brings the law and the underworld crashing back together? It starts with the mysterious death of a powerful industrialist named Anand Rao Varma. His daughter, Shweta, is so traumatized by whatever she witnessed that she goes completely mute. The government calls in the absolute best. Dr. Abhay is flown straight into Hyderabad. Using his brilliant deductive mind, he finds a microscopic needle mark on the victim. Boom! Proving it wasn't a heart attack at all, but a highly sophisticated murder. Meanwhile, deep in the criminal underworld, the Warlord is offered a massive 20-crore contract to assassinate Shweta. But, looking at her photo, he sees an innocent victim. He straight up refuses the hit. By breaking the unwritten rules of the underworld, he instantly becomes public enemy number 1 to both Raghav Naik and Vikram Janakirama.
So think about it. What happens when two relentless hunters unknowingly target their own blood? Dr. Abhay begins investigating the underworld to protect Shweta, and every single clue starts pointing toward the legendary Warlord.
Simultaneously, the Warlord is hunting down Regov's man. Without even realizing it, they're slowly, inevitably moving toward a very violent collision.
Which leads us to part 4, the truth revealed. Okay, picture this. It's midnight at a massive abandoned warehouse in Shamshabad. An illegal arms shipment has just arrived. Suddenly, all 3 factions converge on the exact same spot. The police, led by Abe, the Warlord's heavily armed gang, and Vikram's mafia enforcers. An absolutely spectacular shootout erupts. Through the smoke and the fire, Dr. Abe and the Warlord finally meet face to face. They drop their empty guns, they engage in brutal, savage hand-to-hand combat. And then, time completely freezes. During the struggle, identical silver lockets fall from both of their necks. They stop, they lock eyes, they have the exact same face. The same locket. The Warlord is Arjun. But before either man can even process this profound shock, a massive explosion tears the warehouse apart, violently separating them back into the night.
He is not your enemy. He is your twin brother. That is the absolute bombshell delivered by Dr. Murthy, changing the entire trajectory of the story in one breath.
Literally 25 years of lies dissolve all at once. After surviving the explosion, Abe digs through Dr. Murthy's old chests and finds the physical proof of his past, his father's bloody police badge, and an old family photo. At the exact same time, a captured, dying Basha Qureshi confesses to Arjun that his parents were actually murdered by Regov. Arjun realizes his entire life, his whole identity, was built on a lie manufactured by the very men he served. Finally, under a torrential downpour that perfectly mirrors the night their family was destroyed, the twins reunite at the ancient ruins of Golconda Fort. They don't fight this time, they embrace. Dr. Murthy then plays a hidden video file left by their father, revealing that Anand Rao Varma was killed because he discovered the mafia's new supply lines. And the kicker? Vikram Janakaraman in Chennai is the true mastermind, pulling Ragov's strings all along. The brothers realize their father's war was never finished.
Moving into part 5, One Final War.
Things ramp up to an epic scale now. Down at the Chennai harbor, Vikram is desperately trying to flee the country on a massive cargo ship loaded with weapons and blackmail files. But the brothers? They coordinate an unprecedented joint operation. You have the Coast Guard, the police, and Arjun's fiercely loyal gang, Vicky, Munna, Shiva, Imran, all converging on the docks. It is an absolute war zone. Snipers, explosions, shipping containers flying everywhere. In this incredible moment of redemption, Arjun actually takes a sniper bullet to the shoulder just to save his brother Abhay from an ambush by Raghov. Then, Arjun scales the departing ship to fight Vikram hand-to-hand. Vikram, arrogant right to the very end, arms a bomb to destroy the ship, but Arjun fights him off, escaping just seconds before the ship is completely incinerated, killing Vikram in his own explosive trap.
Back on the docks, the dust finally settles. Arjun finally has Raghav Naik, the man who shot his mother and father in cold blood at the barrel of his gun. 25 years of pure rage culminate in this single trigger pull. But Abhay steps in. He looks at his brother and reminds him of their father's core belief: justice is greater than revenge.
And amazingly, Arjun doesn't shoot. He controls his rage, he breaks the cycle of violence, and he hands Raghav over to the law alive, which completely dismantles the South Indian underworld. True healing finally begins. Abe creates a trust for orphan children of the underworld, ensuring no kid ever has to become a warlord again, and he helps Shweta restore her father's empire. But perhaps most powerfully of all, Arjun knows his actions over the years, however justified they felt in his own mind, were still crimes. He voluntarily surrenders to the court, he accepts his punishment, knowing that facing the law is the only way to truly honor the honest police officer who was his father.
Separated by violence, raised by different worlds, enemies by destiny. But in the end, blood proves stronger than hatred. In the closing moments of our story, after serving his time, Arjun stands with Abhay at their parents' graves. Arjun gently places his gun down on the stone. Abhay places his father's police cap right next to it. They stand together. 25 years of violence, hatred, and revenge are finally laid to rest. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much of who we are is shaped by the world around us, and how much is just forever bound in our blood. Thank you so much for exploring this magnificent saga with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.